So recently, there's been a lot of talk about how AI is coming to take all of our jobs. I found this video, AI Boom Entry Level Bust, which I found super interesting and which can give us some real insights about the near-term future. Let's get into it.
We start with another uncomfortable truth linked to AI, the possibility that this time it really is different.
The possibility, the guarantee, what are you talking about? For sure, it's different. It's only going to improve. It's only going to get smarter. And it's only going to take more jobs.
Different in what technological change is doing to recent college graduates trying to start their careers. There is no question that AI is here to stay. Just last month, we reported that Anthropic, a company that didn't exist 6 years ago, could be worth more than Nike or Starbucks.
Anthropic, 170 billion, XAI in talks for 200 billion. And I think there's nowhere to go but up.
And there's no...
I love that. I love that analysis. Nowhere to go but up. I mean, okay, great. Thank you. Go figure. You know, I would have never guessed.
That at least some employees stand to make a great deal of money for their ride on the AI train.
Apple's top executive in charge of AI models is leaving for Meta Platforms.
I'm told this pay package is probably somewhere north of $200 million.
We have never seen anything like this before, and there's a lot we don't know about what it will do for business and the economy. But we do know that leaders of the world's largest and most powerful firms expect a tidal wave. They are preparing for it. And already, some people are feeling the effects on the ground right now. People not at the very top of the corporate ladder, but those trying to get a step on the bottom rung. This year, Jacob Ayub and Tiffany Lee are joining millions of their fellow college graduates trying to get their careers started.
This is just one of the case studies that I've done, but it's pretty representative of what you can expect if you're applying for any full-time role at a private equity company. Luckily, Boston College does a really good job of setting that financial background. We've done in-class DCFs, in-class LBOs.
For those who don't know, a DCF is a discounted cash flow model, which you need to build if you want to value a company. So to determine what price you should be paying for it, or any asset, to be fair. You can also use it for music catalogs, publishing rights and royalties. Same with film royalties. And LBOs are leveraged buyouts for those of you who aren't finance bros. And a leveraged buyout is when you borrow funds to acquire a company, but the debt is placed at the company level. So you as the acquirer are not responsible for that debt. The company which has been acquired is now responsible for that debt.
Matcha, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. I have a few case studies on my portfolio just showcasing the work that I've done at school for the companies and nonprofits that I've worked for.
The difficulty with this is all of this is done in isolation in an academic setting. There's no pressure to perform. So whilst it's great that you have the case studies, you have the LBOs, you have experience building discounted cash flow models, have you done it in a scenario where something's on the line, right? Have you had to build a model and then pay for something in the real world, as in buy a company with the analysis that you've done? So capital is at risk. Real things are at stake. So whilst it's good to get kind of an academic background, I think what people are also looking for is for you to have real world experience doing these things, because it makes a hell of a difference when you're under pressure trying to build these models in an environment that's competitive, as opposed to doing it in isolation in a very academic setting. Whilst commendable, it's not something somebody's going to hire you for. That's just the reality.
The last experience I have is another contract role with a startup that I did through a club at Cornell as well.
They have studied different subjects at different schools. Tiffany, Information Science and Psychology at Cornell, Jacob, Economics and Finance at Boston College. But the two graduates have a lot in common. They both got good grades, networked widely, and landed prestigious internships. Tiffany at Apple and Jacob at a boutique private equity firm.
Well done, well done. So I take it back. He probably does have experience executing some transactions in the real world, which is great. And let's be honest, one of the difficulties he's having right now is just the fact that the world has changed. If he had been him 6 years ago, he may not find himself in this situation.
And for both, it has yet to add up to a job.
Since graduating college, I would say I've applied to around 200 jobs.
I would say I've applied to about 150, maybe more now.
Some of the interview processes consist of constructing models and valuations. Some of them are pitch decks.
I made it to the final round for one big tech company. Didn't end up getting it. I'm past round 2 for another one. And the other ones either haven't heard back or just ghosted. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a hard one to deal with, especially when you've done 300 plus applications, I can imagine. But it just goes to show you that it's all one-sided. The loyalty is one-sided. So you need to think about yourself, even when you get in. Don't think that anything's guaranteed. Change is the only constant. If you're not directly contributing to revenue, and or you're not an integral part of the organization, and you're not in the executive suite, you need to be thinking about ways that you can future-proof your career, earn more money, potentially pivot, upskill. But you're going to have to do all of this on your own accord, because most of these organizations do not care about you, even when you get your foot in the door. The sooner you realize that, the better.
It's a story that's becoming more common, and it's being reflected in an unusual new trend in the economic data. As far back as the numbers go, the unemployment rate for recent college graduates has been below the rate for all U.S. workers. But over the past few years, unemployment among recent grads climbed above the rate for the broader population.
This is essentially the first time on an ongoing basis that this has occurred in the 45 plus years that we have data going back to.
Matt?
And I will attribute it to a few things. Firstly, during COVID, we saw a huge hiring boom because of an increase in demand for products and services. So some businesses potentially overhired. And then when we came back into the real world, well, they scaled back, so let people go. And in addition to that, we've seen the proliferation of AI, which this video is about. So as a result of this, you're seeing menial tasks or things that would usually be given to entry-level employees being done by AI. So it begs the question, what's the point of having these people when we can have a machine that does 30 to 40% of 50 people's jobs? And as I mentioned earlier in the video, most of these organizations only care about returning value to shareholders. So if that means laying people off, freezing hiring, guess what they're going to do? Lay people off and freeze hiring.
Hugh Martin is a senior economist at Oxford Economics.
So really, this is pointing towards a lot of people who have that higher educational attainment are actually worse off than many of their peers who have lower educational attainment.
That's painful, because what it suggests is that what you've done for the last 4 years is potentially pointless. I don't think that's the case. I think you can always build off what you've learned in the past. You can always take lessons from things. But practically speaking, what you studied, thinking that it was going to get you a job, may have been the wrong thing to do. Right? You could have just taken a step back, been an electrician, a plumber, potentially gone and worked in healthcare, some sort of apprenticeship that didn't require you going to college, incurring debt, and coming out unemployable. And you look at some of your peers who may have gone down non-traditional routes. What I mean by non-traditional is not going to college, and they're still employed, potentially earning less than what you aspire to earn, but their income is consistent. In your perception of a guaranteed career, that perception has been completely shattered by this new reality.
Interesting dynamic to have in a market where you're told you go to college, you work hard, you'll have a job after graduation. And unfortunately for many at the moment, that's just not happening.
Recent college grads may be having a harder time right now finding their first job, but it depends in part on what kind of job they're seeking.
Exactly. I think if you're going to areas that are oversaturated and where AI can pretty much do a lot of the entry-level roles, you're going to have an issue. But if you move to parts of the economy where there's huge demand and very little supply, say healthcare for the elderly, you may be in a good position.
Entry-level jobs in the areas Tiffany and Jacob want, tech and finance respectively, turn out to be particularly hard to find.
A lot of my peers who were in years advanced from me and trying to give me insights on how the process worked all either had internships or were in the process of getting them or had full-time offers. And these are sometimes people that are just juniors who have a full-time offer at a bank or a different firm. And I think with my graduation class, there's been a pretty drastic change. I'd say about 50% of my graduating class is unemployed.
Look, I would say pivot. Just pivot. You're still young enough. You have the ability to. Everything isn't always what it's made out to be anyway. And you've got a skill set that's flexible. You can actually use what you've learned in other areas. You may have to do M&A in-house at a bigger organization. You may want to look away from traditional private equity, venture capital, and investment banking. There are other ways to get into finance, potentially private credit, working at SME lending shops, boutique financiers, those sorts of things. You may need to broaden your remit a little bit, but you've definitely got a skill set that's useful. But you may have to apply it in a way that you don't want to necessarily. It's all about being flexible, especially in this economy. I don't care what you're doing. You need to be flexible. Or you can do a complete pivot and look at training to do something else, as I mentioned before. Blue collar work, or maybe even pivot to healthcare. I don't know. But if you want to future-proof your career, at least for the next 3 to 5 years, you need to look at areas where there's a huge demand. And since it seems like you've got time on your hands, I would do that. Now, one of the issues is some people have egos. It is what it is. They feel as though they're supposed to do something because they studied something, or because they can only be seen to be doing something, and the job title means more to them than earning money. And if you fall into that group, that's on you. I would say, I will call you this.
Stupid.
But if that's what you want to do, you may be in for a long struggle. If you're flexible, though, you can pivot, use your skill set elsewhere because it's a valuable skill set, then start earning some bread. Let me know what you would do, though, down in the comments below. Also, while there, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
I see a lot of job descriptions that are asking for like 2 years of experience or like 3 years of experience. And in design specifically, it's been pretty hard. I think it's just a very saturated field and there's a lot of talent out there.
Tech is one of those that has been really slowed down. A lot of that comes down to the hiring boom that they did post-pandemic and them looking to right size. You also...
What did I say? In addition to that, though, you're seeing a lot of people stuck in the middle. And what would have once been an entry-level person's role is now being done by somebody who is stuck in the middle. And what we're seeing as a result of this is stagnant wage growth. And with the continued increased cost of living, you're seeing a general frustration and a malaise across the economy. So I think this is going to have an effect in the next year, 18 months, 24 months. But that's for another video.
I have other mathematical occupations in finance, legal, some of these fields that you would, again, have been in high demand over the last couple of years that just aren't seeing as much.
Economists say the reasons can be difficult to trace. Some of it is likely the overall labor market cooling after the post-pandemic hiring surge. But now there's a new cause coming on the scene: artificial intelligence.
AI will leave a lot of white-collar people behind.
All junior-level jobs in any industry are at high risk.
This is like a tsunami hitting the labor market.
For months, economists and executives have been raising concerns about AI or publicly embracing it, sometimes both. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy wrote a note to employees in June saying that AI would change the way work is done at the tech giant.
Efficiency gains. We can do more people's jobs with less. That's what that means. So what does this mean for you? It means that you potentially need to upskill, understand how to use it, incorporate it into your workflows. If that's not working and you're seeing that there's not a demand for what you're doing, potentially pivoting to something else, leveraging your skill set, of course. Maybe you don't have to start from scratch, but leverage your skill set and pivot. Or ensure you've got something else going on alongside your full-time role so that you can supplement your income. Because whether you like it or not, this is going to change the game completely. And I think the next 3 to 5 years can be very scary if you're not preparing for it. What would be interesting to know, though, is what you guys think down in the comments below. I am going to link the full video in the description. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you on the next one. Peace.